all these people talking about him smashing the beer on his head, like, yeah, he did that, bro. But this guy's at a pro wrestling event. Other wrestlers are there. Like Stu said, he saw the camera. I fully 100% believe that was nothing other than Stu thinking he was cutting a promo video for this dude. And all Raja had to do was play it the right way, and it would have been. But, you know, I hope Psycho Stu has a quick recovery, and I hope he's okay, man. Yeah, you know, Raja's way out of hand in this situation, period. In my opinion, as soon as I seen the video, man, boy, this is like a clear result of what's been a building situation, like around Rampage, man. I haven't seen all that much of like his kids' streams. I need to turn around this way. Oh shit. Sorry, buddy. Driving this car is fun. Really fun. So I've been watching and paying attention, and I've seen these stream acts that, you know, Rampage be pulling, throwing his girl into the pool, and he had the whole John with his girl where he was like, you know, kicking his girl out the house and da-da-da-da-da, and it was just like, yo, a lot of this stuff seemed clearly put on. I was just like, damn, bro, like, you're tripping over views that bad that you gotta be making shit up like that? Like, the shit, I don't know, bro, I just don't dig that. I don't see what the point of it is. It's kind of stupid. You do something fake just to get everybody to click on it, and then you're just like very quickly exposed for being fake, and that don't really like calculate to me, you know what I mean? It's a poor trade-off. That's just me. Now, I watched the situation with Rampage and his streams, you know, seemingly getting like more and more out of hand, because here he is putting shit on, and they're really tripping over the chat. You're right. I've seen these different streams. I know I've seen ones with his kid where his kid's just all about Raja, right? And this, I'm talking about before he beat this dude to shit. Like, I've seen enough where like him interacting with his chat, he seemed like, you know, very well occupied by the chat, bro. And I know that's the thing with these streams. I get it. But at the same time, it really seemed like it was a thing happening where you ain't just watching me do my shit, but I'm also gonna be doing shit especially for the chat like that. Like, you know, I just ain't like that, bro. That ain't how I roll. That ain't what I do. And I grew up in a time where like you didn't really do fake stuff like that. Like, that wasn't cool. You know what I mean? If you did fake shit like that, you would end up being called a clown. You know what I mean? People will want to fight you over stuff like that. So anyway, like, I seen the shit with him and his son. I had peeped them being manipulated by the chat, let's say, okay? And I had peeped them doing acts and shit for clicks. So boom. So as soon as I seen this video come out, which I seen the first one that was on at least my YouTube feed, and I seen it minutes after it was released, that first clips of the stream. So, whoa, you know, like, I see this, and that was the first thing that came to my mind, man, was that, like, whoa, dude, boy got tripped. He tripped out on a stream. My man tweaked out on likely what was supposed to be a work. That's the first assumption. You see him involved in wrestling, and you're like, boom, then this has got to be an act, right? And that's an important point. I'm gonna come back to that. And here's what really brings me to my first point. My first point is that this is a product of this streaming culture. There's clear patterns that Rampage and his son were engaged in all types of behavior that had to do with basically like manipulating, lying for the chat, or like doing things for the chat. But what I'm saying is that this is a result of this streaming culture. And you can't be left off the hook for that, bro. This is a result of a dude that's out of pocket mixed with this culture. And then, you know, I heard something really crazy where Rampage said that he had bail money saved up for his boy. And I'll tell you what, on some real shit, you can throw that in there too, because that has to be a factor in this situation. Not only is he running around with a license because he's Rampage's kid, but he knows his dad got bail money? You tripping? It's not a good mindset to put your kid in, and it's the type of mind, and you know, that ain't my call really, but that's my opinion. But the bottom line and my point is that that's the type of mindset where you might just go ahead and do some wild shit and think you ain't gonna have to, you know, be responsible for it. Listen, Raja went ahead and just completely incriminated himself on this stream. He proved that it was premeditated. And it really doesn't matter to what degree you can say, you know, I think the organization's responsible. They've put him in there without training and without, like, obviously a clear situation of what was going on, and that allowed him to do that, right? You know, maybe 9 times out of 10 that goes fine, or 99 out of 100 or whatever. But they put an untrained person in a situation, and a lot of things were murky and not clear. And then you have this dude who's being egged on by his chat, and is obviously like soft and fragile enough to allow them to have to prove himself to them in the moment. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy work, bro. For who you are and all that, and you're gonna let some chat like dictate what you do, and not even be thinking about like not just your future, but like your family's name. You ain't even, that's how you want to represent your family? Going out and doing some nut shit like that? Bro, so listen, here's the number 2 point. So the number 2 thing is that, to me, this is a clear case of attempted murder. And I don't say that lightly at all. But you have to look at the facts of the situation. So I'm going to talk about why I think this is an attempted murder, and then I'm going to get to like some of the defenses that I've seen, the way people have been talking about this online, right? I really believe that this is a clear case of attempted murder, and I don't think it's a difficult case to make, okay? This is what you have to ask yourself. Could he have possibly killed him already with the 22 shots that he did inflict? Because that happened. So let's talk about that first, right? If nobody steps in, does Raja stop? No one pulled him off of Syko's stew. What kind of damage and what could be the outcome of however many more shots that he could have ripped off? And if he doesn't stop, could that have been deadly? Period. So here he is, just beating the brakes off of this dude. I mean, listen, I've been in a lot of fights, a lot. Well over 20 fights, you know what I mean? I've seen bad beatings. I've been involved with bad beatings. Let me tell you, man, what Raja was involved in there and what he did to that dude was really on like the upper echelons of the most savage attack that you could possibly have. And here's why. It's because by all looks of things, the dude was out after he was slammed. So if you're in a fight and you're hitting somebody, bro, I mean, for me, I'm thinking, if this dude's out, I ain't trying to continue to pound on him too bad, because I ain't trying to kill him. You dig? Like, that ain't what I'm trying to do here. So when you're wailing on somebody like that and they're knocked out, they're completely defenseless, and you're just doing damage to them. And he was hitting him directly in his face, you know, like one after another. I know that when I've heard people say 13 punches, some other numbers. Yo, he landed like 22, 23 punches by my count, if I remember correctly, counting them last night. That don't happen by accident. He was ripped off of him. He made the decision to go in there and wail on this dude. Like, bro, you're a grown man that is quite physically capable, you know? Like, you're well within the argument that you could be seen as a weapon. There's just no excuse for that, man. Like, if someone does that, if you're in a fight and you go do that to somebody, bro, this is how it goes. You either never been in a fight before, ever. So, like, you're not familiar with what happens when you punch somebody in the face as hard as you can over and over and over again. I bet Raja's knuckles got some teeth in them by the sounds of it. But, like, the way that Raja handled that, he either acted like he was never in a fight before. Like, he doesn't know the consequences of doing that to somebody. Or he knew exactly what he was going to do. Or he knows exactly what happens when you hit somebody that hard. And he went in there doing what he planned to do. And by all signs, it looks like that's exactly what happened, right? You know, this whole situation is fucked, and it's a tragedy, man. Really, mostly for Syko Stu, right? This is the dude that paid for this. And it's only tragic in the sense of Rampage's kid, Raja, because he really fucked a lot of people's shit up with this, bro. Like, not only did he mess his own shit up for this, like, forever, he's done, bro. This motherfucker will never, ever in his life be known as anything other than this dude, yo. Period. And that's like when he gets out of jail after doing a fucking dime clip or a 20 clip. Believe that. Think about his wrestler, his weight coach, this dude. You know, I'll probably have to make a whole separate video on him, the stuff I want to talk about with this dude. But regardless of how he's been behaving and what I have to say about it and his involvement in it, I'm pretty sure he just, from the story I heard, he said that Rampage kind of suggested it because it would get more eyes on his wrestling shit, and it basically like helped blow him up. That was the point. So boom, bring my kid along, let's get your ass on a stream or whatever. And by all means, bro, that's what Syko Stu was doing. That's the crazy shit, bro. This is the crazy shit, is that this could have played out an entirely different way, where it would have been a 30-second clip of Raja getting disrespected. And all the way up to the point where Syko Stu's in his face and he goes, sell it. Yo, I'm an audio engineer. I could have, you fill that in with background noise, you won't even know that Stu said that right there. You could have clipped that up, shown that on your channel or as a promotional thing, and then you have a clips to you hopping in the ring and slamming this motherfucker, man, and then like ripping your shirt off or something. That's how it could have turned out. But instead, this dude's ego is incredibly fragile. If he wanted beef with dude, he should have popped shit right there in the outside. If he would have snuffed the dude outside as a payback, I think it's Dunsky. I think that's looked at as you did something disrespectful to me and I just hit you for it, right? Like, okay, cool. He messed up his own life. He messed up his lifting coach's life. He messed up, it seems like, every single dude that's in that organization, right? Every single guy, I'm pretty sure. I mean, geez, we can like go on and on. He messed up his dad's thing. There's no doubt about it, man. His dad's tainted off of this. I wouldn't say screwed, but I would say tainted. Now, that brings me, I'll tell you what, that brings me right to my next point, okay? In my opinion, the Rampage, his look after all this whole thing is going to depend on how he handles it. And right now, he's not doing a good job, okay? He's not doing a good job. His friends are not doing a good job for him. Basically, from my perspective, what I've seen in the whole YouTube sphere and YouTube MMA world, like one of the videos I watched, this guy has an excellent point, and it's worth mentioning. This is blown up beyond MMA, YouTube. This is, you know, and I knew that instantly. This is a far bigger thing than MMA itself. This was a big fucking deal. And so that wasn't a surprise to me, but it's worth mentioning because everybody is making videos on this thing because it's that crazy. And you know something else is crazy? Is, you know, it came out somewhere that I think people in the wrestling organization or someone involved in the organization of the promotion, they were talking about letting it blow over. The idea that you're looking at this situation, you're thinking it's something that's gonna blow over, you're fucking retarded already. There's a lot of dumb people, is what I found out in this situation. Bro, like Chael Sonnen coming out in defense of Rampage. His video on this was like a clear attempt to wash it in general. He completely underplayed the whole situation, and like that was a basic like you know, favor for Rampage. That's in like really, really poor taste. This situation goes far and above trying to fix with a favor like that, right? This guy just went in there and brutally, all these people talking about him smashing the beer on his head, all like, yeah, he did that, bro. But this guy's at a pro wrestling event. Other wrestlers are there. Like Stu said, he said he saw the camera. I fully 100% believe that was nothing other than Stu thinking he was cutting a promo video for this dude. And all Raja had to do was play it the right way, and it would have been. It only turned out this way because of how he reacted. This is a perfect example of how it's up to you to make situations what they are. He didn't have to turn it into this. And as a matter of fact, Stu apologized. Everybody, they squashed it. And he still turned it into this. This is not good. So you got Chael Sonnen speaking in his defense. Really, anyone that plays that beer can situation, in my opinion, like that, you're playing in his defense. I just told you what I think of it and what I think was going on. Let me know in the comments, anybody that read that the same way. Then I hear people talking about this. I hear people talking about this dude's got concussions. He was at this event after being head kicked. Oh, he was, you know, this is like a CTE thing because he's like right after a concussion and da-da-da-da-da. Listen. I'm sure he was concussed. I'm sure he was kicked in his head and he was concussed. Now, here's my issue, okay? I've had a lot of head trauma. I've had in the mid-teens amounts of concussions. I broke my nose. I got kneed in my face and my nose broke to the side and the bone came through right there. That's why my face is all like messed up. You got a good side from this side, and you got a broken, crooked nose from this side. When I got it, I went to the emergency room after doing it. The doctor's like, yo, I didn't have insurance. So he's like, yo, I'm just going to do you solid, bro. Your nose is just a bunch of little pieces. I'm just going to try to straighten it out as best I can. I said, all right, cool. I grabbed the gurney, and he did his thing and ripped it around a bit, and that was that. He goes, okay, go see an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I never went to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor. Over the years, I had bone fragments that worked their way out of my skin from around the nose. I could feel them right after it happened. I'm like, oh shit, you can feel the little bones in there. Well, they worked their way out. I walked around feeling like I had a hole in my face. That was the worst head trauma. I used to race mountain bikes. I had a really bad accident where I smashed my head off of a tree early into a 24-hour race that I completed 4 laps on. But I don't remember a lot of it. I got up and just finished it. And I was like 14 or 15. So I've had head trauma. My dad used to have to stay up with me after Friday nights of football. You don't know how many nights he had to stay up and make sure I didn't go to sleep. That was like a normal thing. I had a big ass horse collar because I played outside linebacker. So I used to just lead with my head. Right? Because my neck went snap back. Basically spearing people. Okay, man. So did I explain that I'm quite familiar with head trauma? Do you guys believe me? Is that a believable thing? No doubt it's not good that he's in there after being concussed. But here's the rub. In his stream, I saw a clip on one of these videos, right? That I'm watching about this, and in his stream, he's like, yeah, I was concussed, my head ain't right, I've been throwing up. Now, this is my problem on the situation. I think my boy's lying, personally, right there. I think he's lying. I've had, like I said, a lot of concussions, a lot. The amounts that I've had that made me throw up and be sick were 2 of them. I was sick when I did my nose, and there was another one that I don't remember, but I remember being sick. It was probably after football. So anyway, I think that there's a real slim chance that this dude was throwing up from that head kick, right? So the other thing is if he was legit throwing up, in my experience, that state of being is not a pleasant one. If you're throwing up from having head trauma and concussions, you're really, in my experience, you're really similar to like a migraine state. I would compare it to, in the sense of that, you're trying to basically hide away from things. He wouldn't be out there doing that if he was throwing up from that concussion. There ain't no way that he would be at that event if he was throwing up earlier that day from being head kicked the day or 2 before. No fucking way. I don't believe that for a fucking second, yo. So then that takes us to this whole thing about people talking about him having CTE from this hit, and that's just not the case, yo. That's just not the case. Do you know how many people get concussions on a normal basis and don't go out and do wild, crazy shit directly afterwards? 99.999999999% of situations are like that. Raja, in this situation, is not at all suffering from CTE, and that did not at all play into his situation where he chose to jump in the ring and throw, 25 punches at this dude. As hard as you can. So this is where it's what is this attempted murder? If no one pulls him off, does he kill him? One, you have to say too, is he gonna stop if no one pulls him off? He didn't look like he was gonna stop. I think a solid argument could be made that the 22, 23 punches he inflicted could be an attempted murder case by themselves. 2, you got to look at if no one comes and pulls him off, was he going to stop? Probably not. And then you're looking at, okay, how much more damage does the guy take before he could have died? Period, bro. This is like clear-cut attempted murder. There's no way that they don't go for attempted murder on this. And in my opinion, I don't even think it's a hard case to prove. Because there's so many points to this story, bro. I could talk a whole video about how he just apologized to him, accepted his apology, and then went and did this. Well, you know, I didn't even really get to the meat and potatoes of the stream footage. This shit is wild. And it's very complex, and there's a lot of things at play. The evidence is literally on his stream. I mean, this is like, you know, let me just say something too, man. I grew up in a day where, like, we didn't incriminate ourselves, you know? We had to worry about, you know, someone tapping your phone, and that would take probable cause, an investigation, and them having to get a warrant for a wire. But, like, that's what we had to worry about, and people were tripping over that. People wouldn't even talk on the phone, bro. Like, we went to that degree to protect ourselves from doing anything. If we were doing anything shady like that, we weren't talking about it on the phone. Somebody might be listening. Flip to today, where people are knowingly, like, going out and committing serious violent crimes, knowingly videotaping all of it. Like, the whole lead up to Eric. I mean, this is crazy. If you want to know a definition for crazy work, that slang, and I like that slang, that's crazy work right there. That is the craziest work. You know, if I think he might have been swinging for as long as That's That Shit I Don't Like stayed on. I mean, dude, whoever was the DJ, that was in poor taste. That had to be set up. That's crazy that you drop that track when he comes in to do that. I don't know, dude. That seemed really wild, yo. And my man, like, seemed to, like, vibe off of that in the worst way possible.